One of the fundamental problems to be found in piano playing involves what happens after we have touched a note. Now, it's very important in our playing to remember that you need to touch the key bed for every note. The key bed being defined as the point about half an inch below the key resting position at which the key will go down no further. And it's very important to touch that, strive for that as the goal for every note that we play. Why is this important? Because if you don't touch the key bed, you won't have a consistency to your technique, the feel in your hands and arms when you're playing, and a consistency to your sound. You can liken the key bed to the floor under the feet of a dancer. It's a stable, level, unchanging reference point upon which the dancer can jump, pirouette, or do whatever moves. And just in the same way, the key bed serves as the floor under our fingers, right? So that we can jump, move, and build our technique off of that unchanging reference point. So again, for those reasons, it's very important to touch the key bed in every note that we play. Having said that though, the problem arises when, after having touched the key bed, we continue to push past the key bed. Okay? So what that means is that you've played a note and then you continue to push past instead of just resting on the key. Now, what is the problem with this? Well, there's several reasons. The most important include the following. First of all, realize that the nature of the piano is such that once you have struck a note, the tone will continue to die down until it lapses into silence. And no amount of effort, motion, or energy applied to that key once the note is struck will affect the tone. Okay, so to continue to push past the key bed involves wasting energy. It will not affect the tone, and to continue to push past, you're not doing anything to change the tone. You see, so it amounts to essentially wasted energy. And in good technique, we want to conserve our energy, resources, effort with as minimal amount of effort to get and achieve the maximum result. So we want to conserve our resources and not waste it. So that's the first reason. Okay? You don't want to expend unnecessary energy in playing. Secondly, notice that if you continue to push past, the muscles and joints of the fingers, hands, and upper arm go rigid. You're tense and tight. And what you've done essentially is seized up and locked up the joints. Locked up joints amounts to decreased mobility. You've essentially immobilized yourself. And good technique should promote open joints, not locking the joints. So if you have seized up the joints, you've essentially made yourself rigid and inflexible, and you can't be loose, nimble, and ready for action, so to speak. Okay? So good technique should promote open joints. Pushing past the key will promote locked joints. Thirdly, and probably most importantly, you'll realize that if you continue to push past the keys, once the note has sounded, what happens is you get caught into this vicious cycle of not only pushing the fingers down in a vertical motion. Not only this, but now in order to get to the next pattern or phrase, you have to actively pick up the fingers in a jarring motion. Okay, so you get caught in this vicious cycle of pushing down and picking up the fingers to get to the next note. Not only is this exhausting in a very short amount of time, but what you're doing essentially is twice the amount of work. Because you're not playing in a organic, flowing manner where all you have to really worry about is the attack or the downward descent to play the notes and allow elements of rebound to take you, propel you to the next note or pattern. But you're involved in this jarring motion of pushing down and picking up, then going to the next, picking it up, and so on. And so what you're essentially doing is the twice of the amount of work. That was just one chord that we illustrated here, but if you imagine your typical piece has several hundred or 1,000 notes, and to think that you would have to do twice the amount of work, it's just totally nonsensical and unfeasible. So again, good technique, we should conserve our resources and do the minimal amount of effort to gain the maximum amount of result that we want. So, to recap very quickly, one of the main problems to be found in piano playing involves continuing to push past once the key has struck. You won't affect the sound by continuing to push past, and it's in essence a waste of energy. Secondly, you decrease your mobility by locking up the joints, and thirdly, you're doing twice the amount of work when you play like that. So we'll discuss further problems in future segments, but in your practice I would highly suggest getting that idea of playing in a way that you incorporate the rebound instead of pushing down and picking up. And you should see a dramatic change in your playing in a very short amount of time.